Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, once again, and welcome to the 77th Annual OVAC Rudy Munley All-Star Charity Football Classic, presented by Huntington Bank.
Welcome back to On Air with the OVAC. I'm your host, James Huggins, and today's show will feature the coordinator of the OVAC Queen of Queens pageant, Joyce Jingle, talking about the pageant itself and all that is entailed for the contestants. All right, Joyce, thank you for coming on to the show today.
You're welcome.
Give me a little bit of background about yourself, hometown, career, family life.
I am from this area. I've always lived in this area. Currently live in St. Clairsville. I have 3 children, grown children, and I am a music teacher. I have been with Ohio County Schools for 40 plus years, and most of my time has been with Ohio County Schools, and I'm currently the choir director at Wheeling Park High School.
Awesome. Alrighty, and when did you become the coordinator for the pageant?
I believe it was 12 years ago in 2012 when I took over the pageant. And at that point, we were still at West Banco having the pageant. So it was a few years at West Banco, and then we moved to the Capitol.
Okay. And what made you want to get involved in the Queen of Queens pageant itself?
I had been attending the pageant for years. My oldest daughter was studying dance, and so she and I would go to the pageants together every year, and we would be armchair judges, and we would do our own scorekeeping, and just thinking that we knew how to pick the winner. And so I had done it for years, and she had decided that she wanted to be one of those girls when she became old enough. So I also was teaching at the time with Linda Myers, who works in the OVAC, and she is the coordinator of the program. She does the football game program, among a lot of other things. So when Reva Eichard, who was my predecessor, wanted to give up the position, Linda had contacted me, and I went to the OVAC board and had an interview, and that's how I got the job for life.
Sounds like you were destined to be the coordinator for the Queen of Queens. All right, so getting into the pageant itself, I know the ladies are judged in 3 different categories. What are those categories, and what do each of them represent?
The first thing they are judged in is their interview, and that is 15% of their score. That is something that we added after my first year because I felt it was important that the girls be able to speak and know how they would represent themselves. So we added the interview. That takes place before the girls ever go to the stage that evening. So the audience is only seeing part of the scoring process. 15% of that has happened before the girls ever take the stage. The 25% is poise and presentation, and that is the girls coming out in their evening wear, their formal wear. And the purpose of that is to see how they carry themselves. You can see the level of confidence and whether they make a good presentation, whether they're proud to be on the stage. You can see that. And then the last 60% is their talent. So sometimes the audience watches the performance and they say, wow, that person was the best, but they don't realize how they may have had the best talent, but there are other things that are involved in the scoring.
Mm-hmm. And what community service is required of the Queens?
We really have no community service that's required of the girls, but we have had girls in the past who have decided on their own to take on community projects and to use their title and their crown to go out and do some good things in their community. I know Alana Trigg from Barnesville did a lot as queen, raising money and awareness for things in her community. We've had girls that have gone out and raised money for the Wounded Warrior Project. And then we also have had girls that have raised additional money and just given that to the Shriners, since the Shriners are also involved in the pageant.
Gotcha. All right, and what's the atmosphere like for the girls at the pageant?
They're excited. You can see the tension when they're preparing to go out on stage for their own individual performances. But overall, the girls are all really supportive of each other. They really go out of their way to make new friends. And the time that I see that the most is when we are in the 2 rehearsals that we have prior to the OVAC week. We meet at the Stifel Fine Arts Center, and Cheryl Pompeo does the choreography for their opening number. And when they are practicing that, and they're all there in their gym clothes, sweating, trying to perfect that routine, you always see the girls get around in a big circle. They talk to each other. There's a lot of camaraderie that happens, and they make new friends. And I've seen in the past where we've had girls that went on to college and became roommates with girls that they had met in the OVAC. And I know there are girls that still keep in touch with the other girls from their year to this day.
Awesome. It sounds like a great way to get connected and to, build your portfolio up, build up the resume of just being able to do those different things with just being involved in the Queen of Queens. So the Queen of Queens will be announced during the All-Star football game. What roles do they play in that event?
The All-Star football game, by the time we get to that point, their work is really finished. That is when they really start to enjoy themselves. The girls prior to the football game are busy raising money through the selling of ads. And they go out into the community and find people people and organizations and family members that want to sponsor them, and will put an ad in our program book. And that money is used to fund the event. It's used to fund scholarships, because we do give the girls scholarships. And it also, some of that benefits the Osiris Shrine.
Okay. So how do schools get involved? What ways can schools become more involved into the pageant?
The one thing that I always suggest when I send out the initial paperwork is that I encourage every school to be competitive and let the girls have a competition. Sometimes that doesn't work. It doesn't work for every school, because schools are different sizes with different cultures, and so they have to do what works for them. We do have schools that do competitions, and I have shared with any school that has asked for the procedures that we use at the OVAC level. And I think in doing that and in following those procedures, the girls are really more prepared when they get to the actual OVAC event, because they know what the interview is going to be like. It's a one-on-one interview. And they know they will have their talent ready to go, but they will have done the poison presentation part of it. They will have experienced at their school level the same thing that they will have experienced at the OVAC level. Not every school is able to do that, so we just suggest that they do whatever works for them.
And so the young girls that are wanting to get involved in the Queen of Queens pageant or pageants in general, what do they need to do to get involved? What are the steps that they need to take?
Well, I send everything out to the schools and to the principals, and sometimes the schools will create the event and announce it to the girls. But I would just tell the girls that if their school has not said anything to them about Queen of Queens, if they've not heard anything yet at this point, to please approach their administrators and tell them that they have an interest. Sometimes I think there's the assumption that it's a pageant. The girls are not interested, especially if they're really involved in other areas, if they're involved in sports. But they can go to their administrators and say, hey, I'm interested in this. And sometimes if there's only one person, they say, okay, fine, great, go represent our school.
Now, as far as the talent category of the pageant goes, I know sometimes it may be hard to find a talent or to think you're talented in any way. What do you say to the girls that are going into that?
I think that the assumption is you have to be a singer or a dancer. But we have had some very, very creative talents. We had a young lady that came in and did cake decorating. We had someone who was training horses. We had a student that did a weightlifting routine, very impressive. And we had a girl that placed, she was from Shadyside several years ago, who dribbled a basketball on a unicycle. And that was her talent. So if a girl says to me, which has happened before, I don't think I have a talent. And I said, well, what do you do at your school? And she said, well, I'm just involved in sports. That's it. And I said, great. Put on your Letterman's jacket. Bring out your awards and your ribbons and your trophies and tell the audience why sports is important in your development and for young people. And that was her talent. So I think that the girls can be really creative with it. They don't have to feel like they have to go into a pigeonholed stereotype talent where I go out and sing or I go out and dance. But what are they good at?
Alrighty, awesome. Well, thank you so much. Is there anything else you'd like to talk about or give anybody a shout out on here? Oh
my, Linda Myers for sure, because Linda is, she's my advisor. When I have issues, I go to Linda because she was the coordinator of the pageant for years. And Cheryl Pompeo, who does the opening number, and she's done that for years. Bill Graham is always there from BG Audio to make the girls sound as good as they can and look their best. The people from the Capitol Music Hall, the Capitol Theater, Justin Malarkey and his crew, those are people that always go out of their way to really make the girls look to have their best presentation.
Thank you so much for coming on, Joyce, and making it on the show. I really appreciate it. Once again, special thank you to OVAC and Caleb Graham Productions for making all of this possible. If your school is looking to have your athletes represented and given exposure that they deserve, feel free to reach out to Caleb Graham Productions for photos, videos, and highlight recaps of your highly anticipated seasons. Always a special thank you to Caleb Graham Productions and the OVAC for making all of this possible. For more videos like this, you can check us out on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and X accounts for On the Air with the OVAC. I will see you guys next time.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, once again, and welcome to the 77th Annual OVAC Rudy Munley All-Star Charity Football Classic, presented by Huntington Bank.